Hello, everybody. How are you today? Can you type in the chat box? How are you today? How is your summer holiday? How is your summer vacation? And let's start a little bit. Just a second. Okay, yeah, done. So today we are going to have a look at the communication techniques, at effective skills of communication, and all this stuff here. So while we start, can you please type in the chat box what is the communication? What the communication is? What are the rules, basic rules of communication? And what are the problems of communication? Today, so as I said, today we are going to have a look at effective communication tips, rules, problems, potential problems, and the principles of our communication. After that, we are going to take a look at miscommunication and verbal and non-verbal communication. Okay? So, speaking about communication, what are the principles, rules, and problems? Type in the chat box, what's that? Yeah, and what it means in our discuss. What's our communication? So when speaking about communication, it's simply the act of transferring information from one place, person or group, to another one. Every communication involves at least one sender, a message, and a recipient. This may sound simple, but communication is actually a very complex subject. The transmission of the message from sender to recipient can be affected by a huge range of things. These include our emotions, the cultural situation, the medium used to communicate, and even our location. Just a second. The complexity is why good communication skills are considered so desirable by employers around the world. Accurate, effective, and unambiguous communication. These 3 points are extremely hard. Let's have a look together. Accurate communication. So the accuracy, the correctness, the appropriateness of your message. Please bear in mind that accurate information should be referenced, should be unbiased, and it should be cited by somebody. So if you take someone's idea or if you take someone's word, so please be sure that you provide where you have taken these quote or these words. So accuracy. Another one is effective. So today we are going to have a look at how we can make our communication effective enough. And unambiguous. Unambiguous is actually the simplest, the easiest one. Unambiguous is very straightforward. Is not like going around the subject. It's not like talking about fleas, but talking about fleas. So yeah, not the dog, but please, yeah. So please don't do that. Unambiguous. So you have to talk straight about the topic. Don't go around, don't tiptoe around the topic, and speak about the entire subject. So, what are the basic principles of our communication? Everything we do is communication, and any behavior is communication. Yeah, that are the basic principles. Communication is more than simply the transmission of information. The term requires an element of success in transmitting or imparting a message, whether information, ideas, or emotions. A communication, therefore, has three parts: the sender, the message, and the recipient. Yeah, here is the sender, recipient, or receiver, as we can call, and exactly here the message. There can also be the feedback, so the back channeling feedback that you can receive. The sender encodes the message, usually in a mixture of words and non-verbal communication. It's transmitted in some way, for example, in speech or writing, and the recipient decodes it. So the sender encodes or somehow somehow engraves, his message or the words that he wanted to say, and the recipient's purpose is or aim is to decode it, to understand, to get the hang of the message of the sender. Of course, there may be more than one recipient, and the complexity of communication means that each one may receive a slightly different message. Two people may read very different things into the choice of words or body language. It's also possible that neither of them will have quite the same understanding as the sender. In face-to-face communication, the roles of the sender and recipient are not distinct. The two roles will pass back and forwards between two people talking. Actually, naturally, we don't have the labels like I'm a sender, you are a receiver. We have the dialogue or the polylogue when all people are talking with each other, while somebody can send the message, another is receiver, and vice versa. Somebody receives somebody sends the message, who received it, another one is instantly receiving it. So we don't have the actual roles in our society or during the dialogue. We always are switching and juggling the roles with each other. Okay. It's also possible that neither of them, of sender and receiver, will have quite the same understanding as the sender. That's a problem. In face-to-face communication, the roles of the sender are not distinct. That's why both parties communicate with each other, even if in a very subtle, complicated, and difficult to understand way, such as through eye contact or lack of eye contact, that is possible, and general body language. In written communication, however, the sender and recipient are more distinct. So, the sense of communication is the reaction it causes. So this is the common rule of our communication. Somebody sends a message, somebody receives a message, and that's the beauty of our communication. Sometimes, as I said before, somebody can send a message and somebody can not understand it. That's probably possible, and that usually happens like that. So do you agree that sometimes we can have different different just kinds of communication. Can you type in the chat box whether you had situations where you send a message, somebody misunderstood your message, and that's why you had big problems because of that. That can happen, of course. Nobody kind of is guaranteed against it. Let me just check. Oh, okay. Yeah, Dasha, very good. Is interaction with society. Yeah, cool. Is when people try to understand. Yeah, very good. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for participation, Vika, Masha. I see that these people are the most active. And today and the previous webinar. So today we are going to have a little prize. Today, this week, we will have a little prize for the most active students of our webinars. Throughout our webinar, I will code 2 words that you are going to guess, and the person who guesses the first at the end of the webinar, this word, will receive a small prize at the end of this month. Yeah, so please be careful, be attentive throughout the webinar to guess this word. Only one word, but this word consists of 2 parts. I will code it, and you are going to have this prize after after our kind of small and cool webinar. Okay, good. Let's proceed. So I would like now to stop a little bit at the reaction it causes. Sometimes it can cause reverse and adverse reaction. And that's because of the cultural background of our senders, or either senders or receivers. So for example, the cultural background. So we are living in a global village, and we are, of course, we are influenced by the globalization. Yeah, but still we will look through cultural lenses. Yeah, we can sit in a multicultural boardrooms. We can talk about any topics, but still the message can't be received properly as you want it to be, because of the difference of our cultures, because of the difference of nationalities, because of the difference of the cultural paradigms that we can have in our society. Can you type in the chat box what situations you had? Maybe misunderstandings, maybe arguments, maybe some funny stuff about the person from other cultures. So about the cultural background, we have a special iceberg, which is called cultural iceberg model, which was developed by Edward T. Hall in 1976. And the external tip of the iceberg is the conscious surface of a culture. The tip of our iceberg is only 10% of what we can see. So these are the traditions, these are the customs, symbols, maybe some style of clothes, something that we can visually and explicitly see that this person is from another culture. But 90% of our iceberg, that something is in the bottom, in the water, something that we can't see, of course. So these subconscious aspects of culture. perceptions, assumptions, values, some worldviews, mindset, attitudes. So something that is in people's minds, something is in the back of their mind that they don't even notice, but they live in this flow, and they can't imagine their life kind of without these values. So today I would like to concentrate mainly on how to make your multicultural communication more effective, not just with our own cultures, but now we are going to have a look at it. So pay attention always bear in mind, and also keep in mind that there is a cultural iceberg that will always be, and it's not so vivid as to say. So when having the conversation with having the communication with a person from another culture, with a different culture, always keep in mind and take care of your paralanguage, your body language, body gestures, body movements, eye contact. Always keep in mind some verbal peculiarities. Maybe they have some special intonation, or they have special words, taboo words that should be avoided. So always keep in mind some verbal peculiarities. Maybe some kind of they have a special accent that you also have to somehow be you somehow should get used to that. So also very important. Always maintain diplomatic relations. Keep diplomatic. So don't be too emotional, don't be too shy, don't be too, always keep this golden middle. That's diplomacy. Yeah, if you have some problems, because of the difference, so be diplomatic, just don't be philosophical about that. Don't worry, just somehow mildly and smoothly go with the flow, and try to iron down the problems or the arguments that you can appear during your communication. Avoid some taboos in the communication. For example, speaking about Muslim countries, the taboo is to kiss, is to have a very tight contact with a person from Muslim countries, whether in Ukraine or while in Ukraine, or especially in European countries, it's more or less, and it's even appreciated. Whereas in Muslim countries, it's a taboo. So that's totally and completely forbidden in Muslim countries. Speaking about Finnish people, Finland, bear in mind that they are not talkative, and they will keep silence all the time. Yeah, so be careful with that. Yeah, that's kind of can cause some misunderstandings, some problems. Yeah, like that. Okay. Also, speaking about Japanese people, bear in mind that when you meet them and when you say hello to them, you have to make to lean forward to say hello. Yeah, when you say konnichiwa, you have to lean forward and do this gesture. It doesn't mean that the person who is standing in front of you is a king or queen. That's just that's just the culture and the etiquette that works for their country. Okay, what about Indian people? With Indian, it's much That's easier, but be careful with the eye contact. They don't like eye contact, too much eye contact, the same as with the Finnish people. They don't. Usually, the Scandinavian countries, they don't keep eye contact for a long time. Otherwise, that they will think that you are hiding something. You look furtive, and you have some bad intentions towards them. So keep that in mind also. And last but not the least, don't pretend that you are savvy about the culture or that you are a member of it either way. Don't be too big-headed. Don't look too big-headed that oh wow, I know how to communicate with the Japanese people because I did this leaning forward, and I know I'm cool, and everything like that. For example, if there is some pattern, etiquette pattern or behavioral pattern that is present in one culture, and only native people do that, don't do that. You are not a part of their culture. Be careful, really be careful with that, because for example, some stereotypes, maybe, yeah, some kind of stereotypes that are around us, they you are not a part of their culture, and you can't do the same stuff as they do. There are certain things that should be done by foreigners, but there are certain stuff that shouldn't be done by foreigners. So also that's very important to pay attention to that. Okay, cool. So speaking about the last but not least. Okay, just a second, some technical problems. Okay, yeah, good. So our environment isn't just the air we breathe or the food we eat. We are a big of this environment and this big environment is the culture, of course. Culture is made up of the common things that members of a community learn from family, friends, media, literature, and even strangers. These are the things that influence how they look, act, or communicate. Often we don't even know we are learning these things because they become second nature to us. For instance, the way you shake hands with someone when meeting them, when you eat your meals each day, and the kind of things you find funny or how you view religion. These things, what I'm talking about, is of course our culture, is our cultural background. So the stuff that we do in Ukraine isn't the same that people do in Japan or in other countries. So be careful with that. When a person is forced to communicate with the representative of a foreign culture, people of a different ethnic background, or what's more, translate for them. He or she often enters a culture that is different from his or her own. So sometimes these cultures may be even contradictory. What might be perfectly normal in one culture, for instance, spending hours eating a meal with your family, might be unusual in a culture that values a more fast-paced lifestyle. Another instance of the most recurrent ethnic-bound culture shock is a lack of awareness why hearing words alone is not sufficient to discern meaning. Sometimes silence communicates far more than speech. Yeah, and as I told you at the beginning of at the beginning of our webinar, communication is not how we talk, but how we behave. So it's also a communication. So for instance, another instance of the most recurring ethnic, such things as touching, eye contact, and other kinds of body language need to be observed and correctly interpreted, because non-verbal communication carries important clues about the message the individual is trying to convey. Unlike the European people, Asians consider it rude to meet gazes too long, as I told you about that. Long eye contact is not very good for Asian countries. However, it's just the opposite in some Western countries. For example, when a Western meets an Asian, the Asian thinks the Western is rude, while the Westerner thinks the Asian is sneaky. Yeah, so it's always kind of a very bad habit when you meet an Asian person, and it's very rude sometimes to shake their hands. So don't do that. People may misinterpret the motives of their colloquiators with a different ethnic background. For example, one group may assume that they are simply enhancing information about what they believe, but the other believes that they are negotiating a change in behavior. This is most likely to arise when the parties are not completely honest with each other. Yeah, and from the outset, it's understood that they are not that they are sneaking something, and they are furtive, kind of they are hiding something behind the closed doors, or they have some skeletons in the closet. So don't do that. Individuals may wish to protect their privacy. Corporations may be concerned about industrial espionage, and politicians may be bound by requirements of secrecy in the national interest. Nevertheless, clarifying the purpose of the interaction is essential to eliminating confusion, particularly if vested interests are involved. Yes, so when I told you at the beginning of the webinar that you have to be always diplomatic, literally diplomacy is important when talking and when sitting in the boardrooms. So friction may also arise between two people when one or both have little knowledge of the other's background. Also, when you know a lot about the cultural background is not good, and when knowing a little about the cultural background is also not very good. So, for example, in Paris, when out for a morning walk, you say bonjour to everyone you pass, and it just makes a cheerful emotions. You greet people in such a way. But if you do that in New York, and people will scurry away from you, sometimes when you do some things in one culture are not very good when you do them in another culture. It won't be very good, for example, when Japanese person comes to Ukraine, comes to another country, and he starts just leaning forwards. Everybody knows about this rule, but if you are in another country, that's better to follow the rules of another country. So the Japanese person has to handshake in Ukraine, otherwise Ukrainian people has to lean forwards in Japan. That should be obvious. Okay. Greeting people with a warm handshake is both friendly and polite in Western countries, but some of them even hug with strangers. So be also aware of that. Okay, and like this one. Don't, for example, in France, it's also appropriate when you kiss in a cheek, kiss in a cheek with while greeting somebody. But that's not very good when you do it in Ukraine, because people will kind of don't understand that. But however, in Eastern, for example, countries, displaying the affection too directly will be considered as a taboo. It's widely held that cultural psychology often means by which people of different ethnic backgrounds may interact without prejudices. With the advent of the internet, an event more important purpose may arise, allowing whole cultures to interact while retaining their ethnic identity. Yeah, internet has caused, and globalization itself has caused a great a great kind of stuff, and a great issue. We can sit in one chat, and by the way, it has completely changed the way we speak. It's according to David Crystal. Can you type in the chat box whether you have heard about this scientist? It's a language scientist, and he said that internet is such a worldwide phenomenon that while we chat with people, first of all, it's against our nature to type something or to write, to communicate with the help of words or with the help of typing, or writing something. The first one. Another one was kind of great. Usually we can speak with 3 or 2 people or 5 people, but not 30 in one chat. Yeah, so internet internet was a sensation. It was a frenzy that people can keep track of more than 100 or 200 messages in one time. But that's against our nature. And that's a frenzy, yeah. It has reverberated around our world that we can communicate like that. Okay. So the main problem of communication we have discussed. Let's have a look at miscommunication. Can you type in the chat box let's have a look at some funny stories of people who wrote about miscommunication. When I was in another country, I tried to explain to the waiter to bring salad without onions because I have an allergy, but the waiter didn't understand me, apparently because of my accent. Oh, wow, it's interesting, Masha. That's just there is a special now rule in modern cuisines and in modern kitchens and dining rooms that there are special labels on the meals or on the dishes that they contain nuts or they contain some dairy products. Yeah. I had a such situation when I was in Germany. I was trying to explain to waiter in a restaurant what I want, but she cannot understand me because of my pronunciation. Yeah, sometimes it happens. Yeah. Some years ago, I was with my family in Egypt, and I have to go to reception and ask about towels. And I forgot this word, and I tried to show what I need by gestures. Since that time, I remember this word brilliantly. Yeah, our neuropasses are working perfectly. When you show something, you have a new neuropass. Yeah, when some visual stuff or physical stuff connects with our with our memory. Oh, wow, I remember. I perfectly remember my own situation in Egypt or Turkey, somewhere in a Muslim, in an Eastern country, part of the African country, yeah. That we had some extra stuff or extra meals on our bill. And when it was footed, my mother was kind of, I didn't order that. Did you? I said, neither do I. Neither did I. That's, and after that, can you go to the check-in desk or reception, as you call it, and can you cross it out? I said, fine. But I was so young. I remember I was about 10, and I was preparing my speech for about 20 minutes in front of the lift, in front of the elevator or next to the elevator. And I finally prepared, and I just was so, there was a, I had so hard language barrier. I knew the language, like, more or less, but I had a very strong language barrier. That's why I just wanted to help. I just wanted to help my mother, and then, okay, if I didn't do that, I will. My mother will pay a lot for that. So I told it. I somehow was stumbling, stammering, and I didn't. I can't somehow say express my thought, but still they understood, and it was a mistake. They wanted to cheat us, but I was so happy after that. And gradually I had overcome this language barrier, and kind of everything got better. So can you please type in the chat box while I will talk about miscommunication? What is miscommunication? What miscommunication is for you? And what causes it? What are the causes and what are the results, yeah, of miscommunication? Thanks a lot. So between what I think, what I want to say, what I believe I say, and what I say, what you want to hear, what you believe to hear, what you hear, what you want to understand, what you think and you understand, what you understand, there are 10 possibilities that we might have some problem communicating. But let's try anyway. Yeah, that was by Bernard Werber, a French science fiction writer. I think that this quote is really brilliant. It's really good because he expressed the problems. Yeah. Sometimes when the person is saying something and you want to hear something, nobody cares about what you want to hear. Yeah, everybody wants everybody wants to hear what you want. Yeah. Sometimes it's not like that. Yeah. Sometimes the person wants to. Sometimes the person just wants to tell you something, but you somehow change the message. You somehow transform it, and it appears that it's not what the person wanted to say, because you transformed it to what you wanted to hear. Don't do that. Always be always be unambiguous, unbiased, and always say something forward in order the person to understand you correctly and accurately. That's the problem. That won't be a problem at all. So what causes miscommunication? Using wrong and unspecific or complicated vocabulary. Um, if you are a technician, if you are a pundit in some area, and you are explaining to somebody your business, be always always explain your message in an easy way, in a very understandable manner, so everybody can understand you correctly. The inability to find the right words. Sometimes we can't find the right words. Sometimes we want to be polite. We want to sound polite, and sometimes we want to somehow to look like a good person. So we use, oh my God, a lot of words just to begin the message, not to sound rude. Of course, we have to be polite. We have to sound polite, but remember, don't make it too long. Don't extend it to so much time, to so long time that that's bad. That just sound bad. Okay, so poor pronunciation and disturbing noises. As you have told me in the chat box that poor pronunciation can cause miscommunication, yes, you are totally right. Sometimes poor pronunciation, but our pronunciation is not so bad. You can switch. You can find on the internet the Indian English pronunciation. That's so funny. You can find all the examples of poor pronunciation in Indian English language, in Indian English. So that's not so. Our pronunciation is not so bad. Maybe the person who didn't. Somebody wrote me, yeah, Dasha or other girls, that the waiter didn't understand you. Maybe the waiter also doesn't have a very good pronunciation, so he doesn't understand. He didn't understand you. Disturbing noises, yeah, background noises. A white noise can also hinder somebody's receiver's understanding. And you have to, when it's a mixture, it's, oh my God, it's just a problem. And you need, if you need it quickly, if you need to send a message like quickly, and you have these noises, you have to say something. So yeah, chat is just a way out in this situation. Lack of attention or concentration. Yeah, sometimes a person can be tired, sometimes exhausted. Usually translators are exhausted after hours and hours of translation and interpretation. That's why miscommunication can happen. Okay, have you heard about a situation during the First World War, when the interpreter was really exhausted, and when I forgot the side, the party. It was either Japanese or American, but one party decided to have peace with American, with some country, and the message was so long with these polite phrases, with this kind of with these phrases, that interpreter was so exhausted during these war times. So he said, instead of proclaiming peace, he said that we are proclaiming a war, and there was a fight. And after that, they found out that it was the mistake of the interpreter. Yeah, poor interpreter. Okay, Lack of information. Yeah, lack of information is not so big a deal about the communication itself, but still, if we have lack of communication, some arguments can happen. You can misunderstand something, and that's why you can. It's like the word of mouth. Yeah, you know about this Sarafan radio, when you misheard something or you misunderstood something, and after that you send the message to another person, you send the message to another person, and of course the person and maybe the person also will mishear you, and there will be a big problem because of that. Okay. Good. Making assumptions instead of relying on facts. Yeah. That's what I was talking about the accuracy. If we are talking about the information which you heard, or which is not your information, which is not 100% true, so sometimes we have to rely on facts. That's why we have special passive impersonal constructions, like it is believed that, it's generally acknowledged, or it's written that, or it was reported, it was claimed that, and yada yada yada. Yeah. Be some distance yourself from the source of information. It will first of all help you to be respected, to maintain your social status. It will also kind of show that you are the person who rely on facts, or who distance yourself from these facts, and not to have this backlash of aggression and criticism. Yeah, and if you have the overload of information, that's what I was talking. Usually, interpreters just are cornered and get in this are trapped, because it's like flow of information, it's a constant flow, and you can't process it properly, and it's really okay. Yeah, miscommunication. Let's read your comments. Didn't understand each other. Okay, yeah, causes the language barrier and difference in culture. Yeah, culture shock. Dasha, also it's called when you have the difference in culture, and the another person from another culture doesn't understand you. That's culture shock. Is when people don't understand what you mean. Yes, exactly. Don't fully understand each other and what exactly the person meant. As a result, a big conflict may arise. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. A big conflict, a big argument, and even a war can arise. There were so many examples of miscommunication during war times. You can just Google it. That's so many, and because of translation. Yeah, because of the translation. Yeah. Not listening, not looking. Yeah, not looking is very bad, because you not only speak with the person, you also show some gestures, you show some intonation, you show eye contact and body language, a body language like handshakes or something. Yeah, and paralanguage, something your body language, paralanguage. Yeah, so we call it paralanguage. So please keep an eye contact, not too long, of course, not too intrusive. So you can show the speaker that you are listening to him. Otherwise, he will think that you are not listening to him, and he will consider it rude, to be rude. Yeah, very, very nice. We have done this one. And what I wanted to tell you, intonation. I wanted to tell you about the intonation. If we talk about the English language, intonation is very important. If you produce plain intonation, flat intonation, just like that. Hello, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Can you please type in the chat box? Is it rude, neutral, or positive? Okay, yeah, positive. Is it rude, neutral, or positive intonation? A flat one. And I will check in the chat box. Okay, your chat box. Big conflict may arise. Very good. Okay. Yeah, that's yeah. So when you are writing in the chat, yeah, it's very rude when you produce a flat intonation. So don't try to do it don't try to do it in English. Don't try to do it in Ukrainian. Also, that's because that's a little bit rude. Okay, that's why what I wanted to say. Try to add some intonation, usually positive one. Rise and make it fall in where you feel that it will create the positive atmosphere lingering around you. You see, but you don't observe. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes. I don't know, here is the Cumberbatch. Yeah, that's you see, but you don't observe. That I was talking about. That's what I was talking about. You see, you have to show that you see the person, you are listening to the person, but you don't observe. There is a nice word, voyeuristic. Voyeuristic, it's an ill observation, something that like an illness, ill observation of somebody. Stalkering. That's not very good. Yeah, you have to show that you pay attention to the person, but you don't stalk and have this voyeuristic on-looking stuff. So, and when going to the verbal and non-verbal communication. Verbal, it's when you deliver a message entirely by using words and sounds, and non-verbal or body one, all forms of communication except the words. So, non-verbal communication is, of course, your appearance, clothing, hairstyle, hairdo, choice of colors. You also can show your attitude to the meeting with the help of your appearance, and it's very important. So when you go to the formal meeting, you have to look formally. If you go to the informal one, that will be a bit weird when you go in a cocktail, when you come in a cocktail, wearing a cocktail dress, which is not really appropriate. Gestures, hand movements, winking, nodding, nodding, yeah, also very important that you, okay, yes, that I hear you, I listen to you all the time. Something that I wanted to tell you about, fidgeting around. Pay attention that some of the gestures can appear very rude when you kind of fidget around and you can't sit on one place. That means that something is not okay. Or when you have this overly kind of expressive or ambitious, overly ambitious kind of, you do something with your hands which is not also good. So pay attention that it also will be very rude when you have your hands in the front of another person. By the way, don't, we are going to talk about postures. Facial expressions, smile, frown, always show that you are interested in the person, that you show it with your eyes, show it with your smile. You should look radiant. Yeah, you the sunbeams of positiveness should be around. Postures, arm crossing, seating position, and leg crossing. So be careful with that. Arm crossing is not a very good gesture because sometimes you don't want to show the person that you are not interested, but you do it subconsciously. You cross your arms. Don't do it, because some people may consider it that you don't want to speak with them and you are in a closing position. That means that you don't want to be open to people. Eye contact, movements, blinking, blink, always blink, because otherwise people will think that you are not a living person. Posture, when speaking about postures, don't get in the person's comfort zone. Don't get too close to the person, and don't get too far from the person. Always have some medium, always have some golden distance, and it will help you to be in a positive mood and it will help to create a positive atmosphere. And paralinguistics, yeah, your tone of voice, your pitch, your loudness. Speaking about you, can you type in the chat whether you are whether you have high-pitched voice or low-pitched voice? And is it bad or good, or is it your advantage or disadvantage? I will be happy. Conan the Creator and Brown. Yeah, that's right. Neutral. No, that's not neutral. That's rude. I said you. Yeah, it sounds like neutral, but at the same, like, person is not interested. Yes, Dasha. Yeah, you're right. Totally right. There is no neutral. There is no neutral tone of your speech. There is either rude, polite, or impolite. Polite or impolite intonation, something when you are interested in. Okay, here is the prime time for our surprise word. So I have told you about verbal and non-verbal communication. Can you type in the chat box the language that talks about and that studies the language that studies non-verbal communication. Studies that show non-verbal communication. So we have two parts. One part is language, and another one is this non-verbal, but it should be synonym to non-verbal. We have a very similar word in Ukrainian language, meaning couple. A couple, like husband and wife couple, yeah, or a boyfriend and a girlfriend. So the second word is language, but the first one is in Ukrainian a couple. So what's the language that studies non-verbal communication? The first one gets the prize. Yeah, the first one getting the correct answer gets the prize. So please, language, non-verbal, and the first word we can find in Ukrainian language that means couple, a husband and wife, a girlfriend and a girlfriend. Non-verbal communication. So I'm waiting for your answers. The first person to write the word will get the prize. So it sounds like neutral. It's something neutral. Okay, yeah, it's something in the middle. Yeah, exactly. Vika, very good. Not kinesthetic language. Nope. Have a look. Language, the first one. And the first word means, or not means, we have sounds like a couple in Ukrainian, a couple, the word couple, one person and another person. We have a couple, but in Ukrainian, and it's very similar word, sounds very similar to the language, non-verbal language, but we have I have said it several times in our presentation today, so I'm waiting for the words. It's somewhere in this on this slide. You can find it. It's something like gesture language, but it's not gesture language. We have a scientific word for this one. So can you find, please? Right, I'm waiting for, I'm just giving you some hints. I'm waiting for some hints. Okay, nobody. Kinesthetic gesture language is this word is on this slide. So who will be the first to win the prize? Who will be the first to win the prize? Yes, Masha was the first one. Good. Paralinguistics, exactly. Paralinguistics. Masha was the first one. So Masha today wins the prize of the today's competition. I would like to say everybody thank you for participating in today's webinar. What I wanted to say, don't get disappointed. Dasha, for example, don't get disappointed, because we will have much more surprises and much more prizes throughout our course, throughout the summer. Thanks a lot for today, for joining me. Have a nice weekend. And by the way, 3 days off. And see you on Thursday.